Regarding your workshop topic, under what circumstance is it helpful to situate the transpersonal planetary trio of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto in a Jyotish horoscope? Does using Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto in a horoscope automatically make you a Neo-Vedic astrologer, or are there other astrological attributes associated with such a designation?
Yes, that is a wonderful question because traditionally, the Vedic astrologers do not use the three outer planets. But there are a few who started using them. And to be perfectly honest with you, Scott, I wouldn't have gone into Vedic astrology if I didn't know I could use the outer planets. That's how important they are to me. So I started figuring out why they wouldn't use them. First of all, they're not visible to the naked eye. Therefore, it makes them more transpersonal. Whereas the planets that are visible to the naked eye, they have such an effect on our lives in terms of what's going on physically. But you see, I have found that the three outer planets are more transpersonal. Of course, they're more generational, as we have people that have these planets in generations. It makes a whole generation who they are. And they move
Yes.
so slow, they're so long lasting, they have such strong effects. What I discovered was they don't rule the houses. No, it's kind of like Hellenistic astrology that they use. They do not use the outer planets as house rulers. They use the old rulership. That really works in terms of the planets ruling the houses. And you can't include them in that dynamic or it messes up the whole perfect structure of the Vedic chart. But when you use them and when you have an outer planet, let's say it's very tightly conjunct or opposed, one of your visible planets, inner planets is what I'll call them, it reflects so heavily onto that planet, such as somebody that has Pluto conjunct the sun will be totally different than someone that has the sun without Pluto. It's going to heavily influence these inner planets that really represent our physical world day to day. But the outer planets give this incredible shift in energy when they're aspecting tightly one of the inner planets, such as you have to know, if you see somebody with, let's say, Neptune conjunct the moon, they're going to be so different, their moon energy, than the moon without that Neptune influence. So what I am here to teach in this class is how much these outer planets affect the inner planets in a chart. You don't have to look at them as house rulers or ruling signs, but as they sit with our inner planets. And you know what I found? It was actually during COVID that I wrote these three books. It was always on my to-do list that I wanted to write a book on each outer planet. And since I got grounded and I couldn't go anywhere anymore traveling,
We all did.
yeah, I had the time to write about these. And I actually made an epiphany by the time I finished the Pluto book. And what epiphany I made was it was people that really changed and influenced the world tremendously. I don't mean just a little bit, tremendously, that had these tight conjunctions or oppositions of the outer planets. And what I found is they will be remembered after their birth. They leave a legacy.
And squares.
Sometimes it's not good, though, for good or bad. Right?
Exactly. And squares aren't necessarily
They
involved.
work too, but
Not as strongly.
I made a point. No, you know what? When Neptune's squaring something by transit, I mean, you'll never forget it.
Oh my God, I know.
But it's those tight degrees, really. It's those tight degrees. Yes, but in the book, I made my point by really looking at the conjunctions and oppositions because they're so easy to spot for people. And in Vedic astrology, they don't look at the square of every planet. They just really look at the squares of Saturn and Mars, actually.
Right.
But I have found that you've got to use all of the aspects. I actually just wrote a new book. Let me put a little plug in for that.
All right. What
It's,
and what were the 3 books called that you wrote during COVID as well? Since it's been
just
you were last in South Florida pre-COVID, so
yes.
we
Well,
need
they're
an
just
update.
Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto.
Ah,
Yeah, so if you'll Google my name with the, go to Amazon, you will find all of my books on Amazon. And my newest one is My Secrets. It's called My Secrets, My Techniques and Tools That Really Work. So it's really the secrets, my techniques and tools. And what this book is I put together all of the things that I found absolutely work in my 40 years of experience. My 40 years of experience, yes, this is what really I have found that works with all of my clients through thick and thin. And what I did in this book is I put all these famous people, celebrities that we all know, and proved my point about how these techniques truly work, such as I did go over, here's one that I think is so cool, and it seems so general, but it works, and maybe you can attest to this. And this is, you know what, really and truly, this would apply to Western astrology as well as Vedic. So remember this, Scott. I did Western astrology for 20 years before I went into
you
Vedic.
did Uranian Western
Yes,
astrology,
I
among
even
other
did the
things.
Uranian.
We
I
have a
tried it.
question about that later. Yes. All right.
Yes, I tried it all out because I wanted to be the best astrologer I could be. And that means, using all the different tools and techniques and systems out there to see what really works. And so this one, I find if you have, and I'm just going to call it a hard aspect between Pluto and Venus, let's say they're tightly conjunct or they're tightly opposed, or they can even be in a square, but a tight one.
Right.
You will feel deep betrayal in love. And that sounds too general, but I've never seen this not work.
Thank God I have a quintile between
Yeah.
Venus and Pluto. Now you've made me love it more. All right.
Well, and for example, in my book, I use 3 examples. The first one was Phil Hartman. I don't know if you remember, maybe some
Saturday
of the
Night Live, right? Was he
Yeah.
murdered by his
He was
wife?
murdered by his wife.
Yeah.
Pluto is exactly conjunct his Venus in the 7th house, to give you a prime example.
Oh my God.
And Gucci, she hired a hitman to kill her husband. He has Pluto conjunct Venus in the 1st house, aspecting the 7th house. Not to mention, these 2 gentlemen were born 2 days apart. And I actually have a 3rd person I can't remember right now in the book. But yeah.
We have other questions. That's okay. Yeah.
That's enough. So I'm just giving you some of my tools.
Great.
And that's, also part of my Pluto talk, which I'm going to be delivering in Florida. Yes.
Right. On the 21st. Yes.
Yes.
Of January.
Yeah.